What's up, guys? This is Eric from Rare Candy coming at you with another deck profile. This time we're going to cover the Darkrai Hypno deck. It's kind of a new archetype that Breakpoint is giving us. And I know a lot of people have been talking about this. I've even seen some expanded lists, but this is just going to be just for the standard format. Same list that we played in our commentated recorded match we did. Check that out too, just in case you hadn't seen it yet. But yeah, this is a new deck that Breakpoint gives us. There's a new Darkrai EX, a new Hypno, and a couple other cool tricks that really enables this deck to actually be as good as it is. So we're just gonna hop right into it. Start out with, since it is a dark deck, we're playing 4 copies of the baby Yveltal from XY. We're playing 4 just to kind of increase our odds of starting with it, since it is the deck's preferred starter. And it's just a really good non-EX attacker. Oblivion Wing for dark energy. Get the discard pile, or get the dark out of your discard and attaches it to one of your bench Pokemon. So really good to power up your Darkrai's in the early turns. With the Muscle Band, you're doing 50, which knocks out a lot of stuff in format, like Zubats, Combees, etc. So just a really good non-EX attacker that you can kind of lead the game with. And we play compressors too. So in the late game or mid game, once you've used Oblivion Wing a couple times and you really don't need this guy, you can just compressor away the additional copy. So running a high count like that really hasn't interfered in our testing so far. But yeah, for the main attacker of the deck is actually going to be the new Darkrai EX that we get from Breakpoint. So 180 hit points. First attack, Dark Pulse for a DCE, does 20 plus 20 more for every Dark on the board. This isn't our main attack, but you'd be surprised how often this attack can be good. Especially if you power up some Pokemon with Yveltal in the early turns, and with some trainer cards that we're going to get to in just a little bit here. Dark Pulse can actually creep up in damage pretty quickly if your opponent isn't playing some sort of energy denial deck, or just wiping all your energy off the board. But the real reason we're playing it is for the second attack, Dark Head, for a Dark and DCE. Does 80 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, it does 80 more. So with a Muscle Band and Sleep, you're hitting for 180, which knocks out pretty much every non-evolved EX. So super good attack. You can power it up in just 2 turns. In some cases, 1 turn, which we'll get to in a little bit. But it's a super strong attack. It's a really fast attacker to power up. Only thing, it is susceptible to things like hammers and Giratina. But I think the speed of this guy and the strength of this attack is really good. Initially, I wasn't actually that excited for this card. I thought it was just going to be, yeah, that's kind of good, but it seems really strong in our testing. So next up, we have 2 Shaymin EX, pretty standard for most decks in the format right now, just to help you get set up. The ability, when you play Shaymin down, you get drawn until you have 6 cards. So super good ability, don't really need to explain why that's good. But the other part that makes this deck work is going to be a 2/2 Hypno line. And so Hypno is a new card that we got, and what makes him special in this deck is his ability, Goodnight Babies. Really weird ability name, but once during your turn, you may make both active Pokemon asleep. So that's how we're inducing the sleep condition that allows Darkrai to hit for that big 160, 180 damage that we were talking about. And we run a lot of ways to deal with the sleep condition that gets put on ourselves. So it's usually not an issue to put yourself to sleep. Just kind of like in the past where people used to play Muna, people usually had a way to escape the sleep condition if they ended up making themselves go to sleep. So this is kind of integral to the whole strategy of the deck. And that's really it for the Pokemon. Really simple, really straightforward. I really like the Pokemon line as of now, and I really wouldn't change a thing so far. So next up for our supporters, for Sycamore, obviously really the best draw supporter in the game. Your deck benefits from having Darks in the discard pile with the Yveltal, so yeah, for Sycamore. Enough said, really. So for other draw supporters, we're going to play 1 Judge and 1 Birch. I opted for the split of the 2 instead of just playing 2 Birch, just because you play Battle Compressor in this deck, so you can kind of pick and choose what supporters you want in your discard pile to get out with Versus Seeker. Because in some cases, you know, a little bit of hand disruption is good, especially if you leave them asleep in the early turns while you're setting up. If you can judge them, that can be kind of strong to help you, give you a bit more time to set up. So Judge is just a good card, I like it. And then Birch is there just for general draw support. So, and that's actually it for our draw supporters. The rest of our supporters are going to be, I guess, a bit more utility based. So next we have 2 Lysandre, pretty standard for most decks. You get to bring up Pokemon from the bench and hopefully knock it out. And then kind of the more interesting supporter we're playing is Pokemon Center Lady. This is one of the ways we're going to deal with the sleep condition that we were talking about. So not only does it get rid of the sleep condition that Hypno puts on you, but you heal 60 as well. Or alternatively, there's another way with the new stadium that we're going to run where you can actually heal 90 by playing the stadium and the Center Lady. So I think this is a really cool inclusion. Haven't used it that much yet. I think it'll require a bit more testing, but I really like the idea behind this, and I'm going to keep testing with it because it seems like a cool thing that we got going on. And then we're just playing 4 versus Sekker, just for maximum consistency. We play things like Battle Compressor too, so running 4 will really help us, you know, always get the supporter that we need. So pretty standard supporters outside the Center Lady. For item cards, we're going to do 4 Ultra Ball. Again, the best search card, Pokemon search card there is in the game right now. You know, it has synergy with Baby Yveltal getting Darks into this card. It lowers your hand, that way you can Shaymin for more cards. So just pretty standard stuff right there. 4 Trainer's Mail. Since this is pretty much an all basic deck, outside of the small Hypno line, there's a lot of extra space in here. So maxing out Trainer's Mail is always a good option if your deck has the space. Just another good consistency card, just to help make sure you get everything that you want when you need it. 3 Muscle Band, these are pretty important just to help Darkrai hit those numbers that we were talking about. Because otherwise you're only doing 160, which isn't horrible or anything, but most times, most of the EX Pokemon have, you know, 170 or 180 hit points. But even if you whiff the Muscle Band, more than likely you're going to Oblivion Wing maybe 1 or 2 turns throughout the game. So you can soften them up a little bit to where you don't necessarily need the Muscle Band, but we still run 3 just because, you know, we just want to make sure that we hit that 180 as consistently as possible. So next up, we actually have a new card from Breakpoint, and this is going to be Max Elixir. So it's a new card. If you don't know what it does, you get to look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and you get a basic energy there and attach it to one of your bench basic Pokemon. So we run, all of our attackers are basic Pokemon, and we have a lot of extra space in this deck, so I thought this was a kind of a cool inclusion, and it really speeds up the deck a lot. It kind of supplements not having Dark Patch in the format. I mean, Dark Patch is generally better, but I think this is really good for Standard, and you can do some surprisingly cool plays with this. In our battle video, I think I did this. We recorded a bunch of games, but one of the games I had a Darkrai active, and Marcus had, I believe it was a Corphish active, and I was able to attach DC for turn, Muscle Band, and Max Elixir a Dark onto a bench Pokemon to donk it. So this really enables some cool plays and kind of helps you in the late game too. If one of your Darkrai's with a lot of energy does get knocked out, Max Elixir can help you kind of swing back into the game a lot more quickly. So I like this card. I would almost even consider going up to 4 if I can find the extra space for it. But as of right now, 3 seems pretty good. Like I said, if you can find room for a 4th, it's not a bad idea though. So next up we have 3 Switch, just another card that really helps us get out of the sleep condition. And also it gives you a lot of flexibility on the early turns too, especially if you start something like Drowsy or Shaymin that you really just don't want to start the game with. Having this higher count of Switch lets you have more outs into switching into an attacker. And it's just a really good card. I like it. You could debatably even change one of these to Escape Rope. I don't know how I feel about that, but just because you don't want to Escape Rope someone that's already asleep. Or you could even run like 1 Float Zone, for example, if you wanted to put it on a Hypno. So I think at least 2 switch and maybe 1 float stone or 3rd switch is a good idea. So next up we have 2 Battle Compressor like I mentioned. This helps us out a lot. We can get darks in the discard. We can discard baby Yveltals later on in the game once we've used them. We can get some of those cute supporters like Center Lady, Judge, and maybe like a Lysandre in the discard pile to give us more options with Versus Seeker. So super good card, helps with consistency, thins out the deck, has synergy with what we're playing, just makes sense, I think. 1 Super Rod, just in case you have to maybe Sycamore 2 Hypno or something like that in an early turn. And also it actually has some synergy with Max Elixir. Maybe late in the game, you can Super Rod some darks back into your deck just to up your odds of hitting them off Max Elixir. So you can do some cool stuff with Super Rod, but I like it in the deck just in case you have to get rid of Hypnos or something like that. And then we're playing 3 of the new Stadium All Night Party. This is kind of a cool card. It has a lot of synergy with Hypno. It's kind of part of the backbone of the deck. So once during each player's turn, if their active Pokemon is asleep, you may get rid of the status condition and heal 30 from them. But ideally, we're trying to take 1-hit knockouts with Darkrai, so even if your opponent is able to use this, we're hopefully knocking them out in 1 hit anyways to where they won't get the benefit of healing. And like I said too, you can also do some cool plays where, let's say you're playing something against something like Manectric that typically would 2-shot your Darkrai. So let's say they Turbo Volt you for 110. You can put yourself asleep and your opponent's Pokemon, heal 30, and then also Center Lady to heal an additional 60. So that kind of negates entire turns for decks that would typically 2-shot your Darkrai's. So yeah, really good card. You could debatably even play 4. I prefer 3 just because I feel like we already have enough outs to getting out of the sleep condition. So yeah, I like it, and yeah. So that's actually it for all of the trainer cards. Now we just have our energy. We're playing, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 darks. So we're playing 7 darks. I would actually even like maybe 1 or 2 more just to increase the odds of hitting a dark off Max Elixir. But I think 7's a pretty fine number. I wouldn't go lower than this though, just because you do want to hit a couple darks off Max Elixir, and obviously running more increases your odds of that. So 7 seems fine. If I could find room for another, I would like it, but as of right now, 7 seems pretty good. And then just 4 DCE. Okay, so yeah, that just helps out with Darkrai's attacks. If you start with Shaymin, you can even do like a Sky Return on the first turn, and that way you don't need a Muscle Band to finish out knocking out an EX with Darkrai. So it makes sense. Darkrai needs DCE to attack, preferably. Shaymin can use it if need be. Hypno has a 2 retreat, Yveltal has a 2 retreat. It just makes sense. But yeah, guys, that's the whole deck. It's actually really fun to play. I like this a lot. Just based off our brief testing with this, this actually seems like one of the better decks to come out of Standard. I'm just trying to think what you'd have a hard time with offhand. Maybe, I don't know, maybe something with Garb that shuts off your Hypno. But even still, Darkrai can easily just 2-shot everything. Because even if you don't have the sleep condition, a Muscle Banded Darkrai hits for 100. And Dark Pulse in the later turns can actually hit for some pretty big numbers if Darkrai goes in check. So, I don't know, maybe Garb's not that bad. I don't know. It seems really good. I feel like it doesn't have any severe auto losses. So, yeah, I really like this, guys. Let me know in the comments, too, if you would change anything about this list. This is our first draft of this. Like I mentioned it in our recorded match that we uploaded. But, yeah, I like this a lot so far. I think this is one of the better decks to come out Standard. But yeah, guys, that's it. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys for the next one, okay?